everybody. Welcome to this morning's licensing hearing. Just a couple of announcements before we actually get into it. For anybody listening online, we'll be observing the 2-minute silence at 11. We also have an observer from our public health team, and now I'll go into the formal meeting.
If you can just mention the coffee shop case, the second.
Oh, sorry. I was hoping the Democratic Service was going to do that for me. We have another case scheduled for this morning, which will not be happening due to a sad bereavement. So this is the only case we're hearing this morning. Thank you.
The coffee shop case will be adjourned to a later date.
I'm going to outline no. Do I have any apologies for absence?
We've got apologies from Councillor Peake. And
Thank you.
Councillor Stans is standing in as a fourth member. Stans.
Thank you very much. Do we have any items of disclosable pecuniary interest or other significant interest? No. The proposed format for this meeting is that the licensing officer will briefly outline the application. Then you guys, as the applicants, are your representatives, speaks in support of your application. The objectors ask the applicant or your representatives and witnesses questions. The panel asks the applicant or the representatives and witnesses questions. The objectors speak about their representation and call any witnesses they have. And then you as the applicant ask the objectors questions, and then we ask questions as the panel, and then there's an opportunity for summing up and to add anything further. And then we will ask people to leave the room, except for the people involved in the decision. Thanks very much. So now I'll ask Victoria, the licensing officer, to outline the case. Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. I'm really sorry about that. If you'd like to start, we could start with the applicant and we'll have introductions and then we'll say who we are.
Certainly. Good morning all. I'm Chris Lucan from the Licensing Guys, representing the applicants here today.
Good morning everybody. I'm Nick Samper from the Licensing Guys, representing the applicants today.
Good morning. I'm Jenny Benedict, the applicant.
Good morning, Mark Russell from Budgeons as part of the applicant.
Good morning, Victoria Finnegan, Licensing Officer.
Good morning, Kyle Rogers. Although it says litigation lawyer, I'm not here in that capacity. I'm just advisor to the panel.
Nicola Couchman, Democratic Services Officer, and I'm here to keep a record of the meeting.
Councillor on Sand.
Councillor Hazel Brown, Chair of the Committee.
I'm Councillor Barry Kemp, elected member for Rainham South West Ward and a member of this committee.
Morning, Pete Ballard. I'm from Kent Police Licensing Department.
Good morning, PC Carrie Knight from Kent Police Licensing.
Good morning, Barbara Murray, Medway Public Health.
Good morning, Brian Fowler. I'm a resident who lives in Chatham.
If I can move to the licensing officer, briefly outline the case, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. On the 22nd of September 2025, we received a new premises licence application for Budgeons 1 Block C, Pioneer Wharf, Chatham. An appendix of the cumulative impact assessment called Chatham High Street can be found as Appendix A of this report. It is attached for information as the premises is located within this designated area. This can be found on pages 11 to 13. The application is for the sale by retail of alcohol as off sales daily between 9 to 11 p.m. The application includes the operating schedule, which details the conditions the applicant is offering to promote the licensing objectives. A copy of the application and plan can be found at Appendix B on pages 15 to 37. During the consultation, we received 4 representations. We received representation from Public Health on the 2nd of October. This was in relation to 2 of the licensing objectives, the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. This can be found at Appendix C on pages 39 to 54. We received a representation from Kent Police on the 17th of October relating to 3 of the licensing objectives, prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance and public safety. This can be found at Appendix D on pages 55 to 60. Kent Police submitted additional information on the 7th of October. This can then be found on pages, the 7th of November. This can be found on pages 3 to 21 of the supplementary agenda. We received 2 representations by members of the public on the 17th of October and the 20th of October relating to all 4 licensing objectives. This can be found at Appendix E, pages 63 to 67. The agent submitted further documentation on the 9th of November. This can be found on pages 23 to 26 of the supplementary agenda. It is for this panel to decide on the appropriate action for this application, taking into account all the evidence brought to your attention, both written and oral, alongside the Licensing Act 2003 and its associated guidance. The panel can decide to grant the licence as applied for, amend the application, adding or amending conditions, or refusing the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now,
So I could ask her a question, please.
sorry?
Can I ask her a question, please?
Yes, you can, but it's normal to leave the questions for later, but let's do it now, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. I just seeking a bit of clarification. Yesterday we received an email from Emily Lane Blackwell, who is the licensing manager of Gravesend and Medway Shared Licensing Service. Therein, she conceded that there is no rebuttable presumption or presumption of refusal in the Section 182 guidance from the Secretary of State, and there is no requirement to show exceptional circumstances in the Medway Statement of Licensing Policy and the Cumulative Impact Policy 2024 to 2027. I did email it across. I've asked you to circulate it to the members of the panel and the representatives. Have you had an opportunity to do that, please, Victoria?
So do you mean the email that you sent to Emily?
Emily sent the email to me.
Yeah. When did she send that to you?
She responded, conceding there's 2 points. I sent them to you, asking you to circulate it to everybody in the room, please.
So when did you send that to me?
Last night, and I sent it to licensing as well. If you like, I can read it because I have it on my phone. Would that assist anyone?
If it assists the panel, I don't think that's going to be a matter in contention.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Can I just have clarification from our legal advice on this one? You're talking about the law, and you're talking about the presumption under the law. You're not referring to Medway Council's policy regarding SIPs.
Yes, so that's exactly what I'm talking about, ma'am. There is no rebuttable presumption in the Licensing Act, the Policing and Crime Act 2017, the Section 182 guidance, and in the House of Commons briefing paper that accompanied that legislation. Similarly, there is no requirement for us to show exceptional circumstances in any of that primary or secondary legislation or guidance.
Yeah, but we are not contending around the policy that Medway Council has regarding its SIPs. Okay, that's fine. We're clear. We're just talking about the law.
Yeah, ma'am. I wish
Sorry, it's Councillor Brown. Don't worry about that.
Sorry, Councillor Brown. I just wish it to be put on record that there is no legislative foundation available in existence since 2018, which establishes a rebuttable presumption against grant for the use of a CIA, which is cumulative impact assessment, and there is no reference or authority for an exceptional circumstances test to be met by us in any of the primary or secondary legislation or the Secretary of State's guidance or in the House of Commons briefing papers, ma'am.
Okay, we'll accept that you've made a statement. Is that your presentation to us this morning then?
No, ma'am, it was just a question for the licensing officer.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was your presentation, as it is your second time in front of us. Thank you. Would you like to make the case now?
Surely, yes. I am Nick Semper from the licensing guys representing the applicant Wharf Limited here today, here represented by Anthony Benedict and his wife Jenny, who is the proposed DPS. Wharf Limited already run 19 stores across the UK, 6 are Budgeons, 2 are one-stops, 5 are Premiers and 6 are Londis. They have 20 years of experience in retailing convenience stores, including alcohol, and Jenny herself obtained her personal licence from Lewisham in 2006 and therefore has nearly 20 years experience. The company altogether has 30 years of retailing experience. They and their stores have never come to the attention of any of the responsible authorities across these other sites in all those years. This means they've never failed a test purchase operation, sold age-restricted goods to the underaged, has never sold to a drunk or a disorderly person. They intend to open a Budgeons at this Chatham site. Budgeons is a premier brand within the Booker Group, which is owned by Tesco's. There are 344 Budgeons across the UK, and each and every one of them holds a premises licence. Budgeons is a major contributor to the national influential retail alcohol standards group. As such, Budgeons employ the comprehensive national RASG responsible retailing guidance to the letter. Budgeons is here, represented by their Regional Development Officer, Mr. Russell, Mr. Mark Russell. Now, in this hearing, the burden is on the applicant to show that the proposed operation, supported by the proposed operating schedule, is capable of promoting the licensing objectives and is unlikely to undermine them. Any representatives opposing the application have the burden to show that these premises, trading under the model conditions suggested by Medway Council, and the additional control measures which we will employ, they have to show that we will undermine the licensing objectives and demonstrate that with evidence. In our submission, any subcommittee properly advised could only refuse this application if it is found on the evidence of the representatives to be incapable of promoting the licensing objectives even after you as a panel have considered any further additional conditions you might wish to add. Now, the rationale for your decision-making today is set out in para 9.43 of the Section 182 guidance, which says that the authority's determination, your decision, should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and proportionate as to what is intended to be achieved. So, what are we trying to achieve and why do we want a premises licence on this site? Medway Council is delivering ambitious... I feel almost embarrassing telling you, but it needs to be read into the record. Medway Council is delivering ambitious plans to regenerate its urban areas, and with a substantial land holding, the Council is positively contributing to this objective by the redevelopment of this former brownfield site. Medway Development Company Limited, of which the Council is the only shareholder, is delivering new homes which reinforce economic growth and help revitalise this area, with £120 million from the Council agreed by Cabinet to fund the programme. This includes 6 ground floor commercial units designed for retail and other business uses. The proposed Budgeon store will primarily service the anticipated residents of the 292 new homes and visitors to this wonderful new development. Indeed, Budgeon's outlet are welcomed by the developer, MDC. Now, Budgeons will have barrier entrances, staffed exit points, and a separate and enclosed beer cave. It will be equipped by CCTV backed up by an AI system called FaceWatch, which is a nationally recognised crime prevention AI system which scans customers over CCTV with potential matches against the database of persons whose biometrics are uploaded into it, and it alerts staff members to the possible presence of persons who are on any banned list. FaceWatch has drastically, thank you, got there in the end, reduced incidence in the budgeon stores where it's been introduced across the UK. Now, the Medway the Safer Medway partnership has been running since 2002 and currently has a membership of 250. It costs £1 a day to subscribe. They maintain an excellent radio system, which is currently utilised in the bus station nearby. And there is a comprehensive CCTV infrastructure already present in the bus station and along the Wharf side. If you stand at the front door of this proposed budgeons, you can see a total of 7 CCTV cameras fitted to spigots on the lampposts within your purview. Additionally, there are 4 additional 360-degree CCTV units fitted to the building itself, to the budget. Inside, we will be offering a 32-channel CCTV system, which is state-of-the-art. Now, the partnership maintains a banned persons list, and we intend to place these nominals onto our specific application of FaceWatch, thus ensuring that nobody who is banned for alcohol-related behaviours or for shoplifting in Chatham is welcomed or even served in our new store. We will also be utilising the retail AI system, and I will talk to that a little later. Now, this hearing today is in fact a re-application. I believe Councillor Sands sat on the last one, as the previous application for a premises licence to permit off-sales was refused. The rationale behind that refusal was enunciated in the decision notice issued by the Council, and I quote, due to the existence of the CIA, there is a rebuttable presumption of refusal of the application by the authority in all but exceptional circumstances. Now, I've already addressed you on the fact that there is no rebuttable presumption in law or in the Primary Secretary legislation, and also that there is no requirement for us to show exceptional circumstances. That's what the first conversation was about. And we've now yesterday afternoon, we had confirmation from the head of licensing that that is a correct statement as to the law. Okay, so it is for us. A CIA is defined in the Section 5A of the Licensing Act 2003, because it was amended by the Policing and Crime Act of 2017. But the Section 182 guidance issued by the Secretary of State says this. Parallel 14.44, if we can make a note of that, please. The guidance tells us that a CIA, a cumulative impact assessment, which is in place here, should never be absolute, and that the circumstances of each application should be considered properly, and for applications which are unlikely to add to cumulative impact on the licensing objectives, allows them to be granted. Okay, so what I'm after explaining here now is the likelihood that this flagship budgeons is going to add to cumulative impact issues in the area, the immediate vicinity of that shop. Now, as you'll be aware, each application must be judged on its own merits and not on the finding of the earlier committee decision.
Just as a matter of point, we are an experienced committee. We do know our responsibility. You are telling us what we already know.
I'm sure, ma'am, but I think it's important that I read it into the record. Okay, I do not wish to insult your intelligence or anything. I just need to put it on record. Okay, the significant merits of this application is that this is a major, professionally run and properly resourced concern from a nationally recognised chain whose bona fides are beyond reproach, already operating quietly, lawfully and correctly at numerous other sites across the UK, and here offering to operate under a most comprehensive operating schedule which is fit for purpose, thus minimising any potential that any licensing objective would be likely to be undermined. Okay, so let me just walk you through the objections. Against us is the grant is Public Health, Barbara, who argues strongly against the application on grounds of CIA with evidence of ASB, both drug and alcohol related, and littering in the area. We don't disagree that the area is challenged. I've got to put that on record as well. But with respect, that is not what this hearing is about. Our position is that the grant of this premises licence would be unlikely to add to the cumulative impact already experienced in the area. people who are there causing these problems in Clapham High Street are already accessing alcohol, no doubt about it, from somewhere, no doubt about it.
Just a matter of clarification, it's Chatham High Street.
What did I say?
Clapham.
I'm awfully sorry. We go all around the country, ma'am. Thank you so much for that correction. Okay. What we're asking is, where is the evidence that they will stop accessing the alcohol they are currently getting it from and come to us for it? Our position is that we won't serve them. We have physical and technical measures in place to stop them accessing it in this particular budget. Now, Public Health have provided a 6-page Annex 1, which deals with crime stats. This is very helpful so far as it goes. But casting a statistical net across Fort Pitt and Chatham, got it right that time, Central and Brompton policing boundary areas is helpful in the establishment of a CIA. However, the Secretary of State's guidance is absolutely clear at para 2.27, where it states, beyond the immediate area surrounding the premises, these are matters for the personal responsibility of individuals under the law. An individual who engages in ASB, or crime for example, is accountable in their own right. Furthermore, para 1.18 of the Section 182 guidance addresses premises licence conditions et al. And it says that you cannot seek to manage the behaviour of customers once they are beyond the direct management of the licence holder and their staff, but may impact on the behaviour of customers in the immediate vicinity of the premises. Okay. Therefore, in my submission, my humble submission, this process concerns the sale of alcohol at this location and at its immediate vicinity, and not across the entire 2 wards. Incidentally, I've spent the last few weeks in correspondence with Kent Police, wonderful people, regarding our FOI, Freedom of Information request. We've requested the proportion of the recorded incidents which are actually tagged as alcohol related, and how many occurred in the public realm, in the public space. We were served the the additional statement last night yesterday by the council, and that's carries. And I'm struggling counting up all the dots, but it appears that CLK3, maps 2 and 3, across the entire 2 policing areas, there appears to be 12 alcohol-related crimes in 7 months, which equates to 1.7 crimes per month, and there appear to be 33 alcohol-related ASB issues across the 7 months, which equates to 1 per week. It's in the additional. Vicky, can you help her? Can you tell us what page the carries statement of a statement and supplementary evidence? The maps CLK 03.
So Kent Police's additional information in the supplementary agenda is on pages 3 to 21.
Thank you. Okay, now, Annex 2, I was getting back to the public health objection, okay? Annex 2 shows litter in the area. I've already made my point about the location and immediate vicinity being relevant towards this particular application before you. I can tell you that none of this litter has anything to do with us, as we've sold no alcohol or indeed anything else to anyone. We don't intend to sell goods to people who throw the packaging around the streets. If you make us aware of who is doing it, then we will clearly ban them from our store. And furthermore, we already keep our own frontages and courtesies clear of litter at all times as part of our punishing day-to-day operation across our entire portfolio. Now, Public Health concludes in their penultimate paragraphs that staff, and this is their recommendation, it's very helpful, staff training should be completed to a minimum requirement as any well-run premises, and should have good working CCTV, and staff refusing to sell alcohol to people who are drunk. Okay, our position is clear. We agree wholeheartedly and point to pages 33 and 34 of the bundle, where the proposed operating schedule covers G1, staff training, conditions 1 to 4, CD 33, which is CCTV, conditions 1 to 5, and CD 34 and 35, which cover drunkenness. We also have a conflict resolution policy and a policy on how we will play our part in reducing alcohol-related domestic violence, which was served on you as part of our further disclosures. They had it already, but didn't at the previous hearing, but didn't have it in one particular place. We've now corralled all that into two short documents that are now being served upon you. Turning to the police representation, basically they object due to the location of the new store being within the CIA and the PSPO area. Police believe that Mrs Benedict, although highly placed within Charworth Limited, would not know the problems associated with the area. To that I'd say that Jenny is acutely aware of the issues in the area as enunciated by both the CIA and the public health and the police reps, and in her company role as a member of the board, is ideally managed to put these issues at the top of the store's agenda to make Charworth's ambitions an operational reality. If the police do not want a senior member of the management team owning these issues in Chatham, then we will surely nominate a lower member of our management team who lives locally to fulfil that role, and we employ currently, I believe it's 4 area managers, so it'll be one of those. Right, where am I up to? Okay, now in the rep, the police seek clarity as to, and this is a quote, why the premises required function to sell alcohol and how can this add to the area? Well, the answer to these questions is quite simply this, because this will be a Budgeons and all Budgeons operations include an off-licence facility. And 2, how can it add to the area? It will add to the area but by providing a service to the new residents above and around this wonderful new development and the visitors to the new development. Now, the officers believe in her submission that we seek to downplay the importance and relevance of your CIA. Actually, that could not be further from the truth. I don't. In fact, I brought in a CIA in a city in an earlier life. I utterly understand them. We just simply disagree about what they empower authorities to do. What I'm saying is that the data that it founded the CIA, that's currently before you, which is 2024 to 27, I think, is shown as data that was adduced in May 2023. That's actually shown on page 42 of your bundle, where it shows the date of it. Hence, all CIAs have a longevity of 3 years. Statements of licensing policy or statement of licensing policy, 5 years, okay? The CIA is only 3 years because it is founded on a snapshot of what is going on, and in this case, in May 2003. What the applicants would tell us is they've been actually involved in this site for about 4 years since you planned it, and in their numerous visits to the site, they have seen you improve the area beyond all recognition. And were that area not changing or indeed capable of changing further still, then Medway Council and Medway Development Corporation would not have been investing millions and millions of pounds into regenerating it, and this applicant would not be investing here too. Now, the police conclude in their opinion that there are simply no meaningful conditions that could be added to this licence to ensure that Budgeons could promote the licensing objectives. Now, if this were true, then the new residents of these attractive luxury flats on this multi-million-pound redevelopment, I think they come in at, I think the entry point is 190,000, go to about 400,000. Well, they could never purchase a bottle of Peroni to enjoy with their pizza, with their tea. We are where we are with that. I cannot agree. Now, we've got 2 members, representations from members of the public. Mr. Hutchins appears to have used ChatGPT to generate his. With respect, massive respect, it's full of errors. For example, he says that Section 5A of the Licensing Act establishes a rebuttable presumption of refusal. It doesn't. It does nothing of the sort. He tells us that the Section 182 guidance requires us 4 or 5 to convincingly show, quote, convincingly show their operation will not add to cumulative harm. It doesn't. It goes on about no compelling rebuttable of the presumption, but there's been no rebuttable presumption since the 22nd of
I'm really
April.
sorry here. I'll have to interrupt because all I'm getting is what's wrong with what other people are saying. I'm really here to hear about what the applicant is doing to make this conform to the licensing objectives. And I have heard some of that in this, but actually there's a lot of noise going on around this. So I prefer if you would stick to what you're actually coming here to present?
Yes, ma'am. What I've come in here to present is the application and also our answer to representations that have been made. I've addressed solely what's
But
in the
they have an
representation.
opportunity to question you.
Okay. Again, I'd like to read into the record, I'm here to present the case and also to address the matters that have been raised in the representation by these four good people here. Okay.
Just to intervene on here, it is my advice to the panel that the applicant is allowed to make the representations he's making. He is entitled. The applicant is, of course, entitled to put questions in due course to objectors, but at this juncture is allowed to make any submissions that they want to make as long as they are relevant to the licensing objective in the application.
I apologise if that's a problem, but I was expecting them to come in the summing up bits. Sorry about that.
Ma'am, there's no need to apologise. It's your meeting. You can ask any questions you want. Now, you've clearly heard enough about me explaining how we have countered the representations against us to date. So I'll get on with the FaceWatch and retail AI systems then. Both of these are software solutions which Wharf utilise on site. FaceWatch scans the CCTV system. You don't have to watch the CCTV yourself. The AI does it for you and matches off the imagery of persons in store with persons on the Safer Medway Partnership bans list. Okay? People who are bans using PSPOs, community protection notices, licensed premises exclusion orders, are entered into that system. When they appear at the store, it looks at your face, says 70% chance that Councillor Brown is banned from entering licensed premises and whatever, and you make an intervention. Likewise, somebody's on a shoplifting watch list. You go downstairs, you don't throw them out necessarily unless they're banned by the police from being in there. What you do is you hand them a basket, you say, hi, I'm be greeted today, here's your basket, can you make sure that everything you take off the shelf ends up in the basket and is presented on the way out? Okay, that's how FaceWatch works. Retail AI, by contrast, another wonderful system I commend to you, monitors customer movements. Okay, so those who hover excessively or place items from shelves into their own clothing are actually played a message over the PA system above their heads, advising them not to do that. And also, you would make an intervention. This is military-grade technology. It was developed after the Chapati bombers in the last decade. Okay. Right. Those who are unsteady on their feet, for example, the AI pick up, are advised not to purchase alcohol, both by the retail AI system and also by our greeters and staff. At the same time, both these systems automatically notify the store manager and that there may be an issue, and that person is given that particular customer is given the necessary levels of assistance or intervention as appropriate. Mrs. Benedict is also considering bringing in Ask for Angela in case any customer is in need of further assistance around personal vulnerability. Now, let's just suppose that this application is granted, then suddenly alcohol-fueled ASB causing street drinkers, upon hearing that alcohol can be purchased from this new Budgeon's outlet, suddenly redirect themselves from the outlets where they are currently sourcing their budget alcohol and descend upon this store intent upon paying budget prices for alcohol. However unlikely that scenario might seem to you. What is likely to happen? I will tell you if I may. Mrs. Benedict and her team are not going to serve them. Being served with alcohol is not a customer's right. It is a criminal offence to sell alcohol to a drunk or a disorderly person. Across their other businesses, they have never sold to a drunk or disorderly or the underaged. They don't now, and they won't in future, as they have no intention of changing their business model, flouting the law, or retailing alcohol irresponsibly. Customers like that, I call them messy people. I'm not sure. I've got a great deal of sympathy for people who self-medicate with alcohol, but customers like that put off the very customers they're trying to attract from the stores above. There's going to be a cafe there, for example, to visitors to the Wharf side. These people actually, these problem customers actually put off the very avatar of customer that Budgeon's attract and seek to attract more of. Let me now talk to you very briefly, again, read into record. I will be quick because I appreciate You're an experienced panel. I'd like to talk to you very briefly about fear and speculation. If represent or speculate their way to grant this licence, then they fear that problems might ensue. There are two main reasons why fear and speculation are not admissible in these proceedings. Firstly is para 9.43, the section 182 guidance, which clearly states your decision must be evidence-based. Fearing and speculating on what might or might not happen in future, and because of any decision in this room today, is plainly not evidence. It is what it is fear and speculation. Secondly, there was a ruling in the Daniel Thwaites and Wirral Borough Magistrates case in 2003, Court of Appeal, Queen's Bench Division, where Honour Justice Black, in her judgment, that she handed down, said that you can only refuse a licence or impose conditions based on actual, i.e. real and proper evidence. To that I'd say, yes, there is historic data in the area, that the area has been challenging in the past, and may continue to be so for time to come, who knows. But this area is changing beyond all recognition, thanks to the work of Medway Council and the MDC, bringing new businesses and residents and visitors to the location. It cannot be the position, surely, that we're inviting new residents to purchase flats above for between £200,000 and £400,000, yet maintain that the area is so dangerous that budgeons themselves cannot be trusted to retail alcohol responsibly to them in the premises downstairs. Surely not. Now, in any event, Parliament has already provided a mechanism to deal with any future problems emanating from licensable activities at these or indeed any other licensed premises. That is the premises licence review provided by Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003. Now, you are already telling me that you're highly experienced, so I don't need to go on about that anymore, but because I know that if this budgeons were to cause you problems upstream, you'd have them back in for a premises licence review and take the licence off them. Now, I will rest now, with your permission, and deal with any further questions or queries in summary, but ask you to look very favourably on this very well-conditioned application from this experienced and respected operator. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I now call on the objectors. Shall I start with Kent Police?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you for your presentation. Very informative. Thank you very much. As with everything, you probably expect that I would be asking a few questions.
Actually, I wouldn't. Usually cross-examination is not permitted. It has to go through the chair, but I think you do things slightly differently down here in Medway.
I outlined that the objectors ask questions.
You did not.
Yeah. So they can.
Through the chair. No cross-examination.
Well, it's.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm here.
Sorry. I did. They asked the applicant questions. That's how we do it. It's not a court. It is a licensing hearing. So I'm asking Kent Police to ask directly questions to your good selves.
Thank you, Chair. Am I okay to? Yeah. Okay. You've touched upon one thing that I just want to clarify because I was a little bit confused about, which is your CCTV face watch. And am I right in saying, because I may have, because there was a lot of information there, that said face watch is with Safer Medway Partnerships details?
No, I didn't. No. Face Watch, I brought it into Hereford in about 2015 because, as you're aware, it's the epicentre of the United Kingdom Special Forces home base and what have you, and we needed to know. Face Watch looks at CCTV without you watching the monitor. It picks up on facial recognition. It matches it against a database. You already have a database. It's maintained by the Safer Medway Partnership DISC system, which stands for Digital Internet Safer Communities. You will have a watch list and you will have a banned list within that. When we join Safer Medway Partnership, there's all sorts of ICO approvals that you go through, but it's been done many times before. You upload the database of faces of people that you're banning and courts are banning through your community protection notices and what have you, into FaceWatch, and then FaceWatch through the 36 channel CCTV alerts the store manager when one of your nominals walks into that store. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I wanted a bit of understanding of that because I work quite closely with Safer Medway Partnership on nighttime economy, mainly in the Rochester area, so I do work with them. How does it alert the manager?
pings them a message. We have, it pings them a message, okay? You have a Face Watch app on your phone, and it comes up with a message, and it shows you the photograph. There is also, I think Anthony's going to come in, that they've also got access to CCTV in real time on their handhelds, is that right?
Good morning. There's a system called Retail AI. It's been launched 3 years ago. So what that does actually, whoever coming into the store is capture their faces, and from the moment whether they are drunk or not drunk or they are stealing anything, that there is a tablet near the till that will capture that incident, that send that the digital thing into the tablet. Then managers or whoever worked in the till area, he will have access. Then he could go into the aisle, what's happened, and or there is a bell system in the shop. Then he could press a bell. Then other staff could come in and see. So that's the way it's working at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
That's right.
Thank you. I appreciate that the pressing of the button is a little bit annoying at times. I appreciate that. Does that work in your other stores?
Yes.
Yeah, just for the record, Face Watch is in at Budgeons. I'm speaking on behalf of Mark here, but it's at Belsize Park, and I think it's at Bullingham Park as well. It worked very well. If you go onto the Face Watch site, you've got all the testimonials about how well it works there. It's not for me to sell Face Watch to you, by the way. It's just, it's there.
No, I just wanted a better understanding of it. Thank you very much. And your communication with Safer Medway Partnership, has that been agreed that they can disclose the information to you?
No, we're not even members yet. That's our communication with Safer Medway Partnership is via Mr. John Bryce, and we were connected with him via digital intranet, Safer Community System, DISC, as you know.
Yeah, thank you. I do know about DISC, and I know there's a hell of a lot of work that they do within the community, so they are very good. I just question maybe how their information can then be transferred onto your database, for better want of a word.
That's a very good question. If you go onto the FaceWatch site, there is lots and lots of stuff, advice from the ICO about the compliance of how it's done and the lawfulness of it being done. Like I say, it's used in other budgeting sites around the UK.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Like I say, I just question whether that would be something that Safer Medway Partnership would do, because I know they don't do it anywhere else. That's fine. Thank you.
Well, we'd be more than pleased to bring it to Medway, ma'am.
You have touched upon some maps that I have provided. Yes, they are maps. You can imagine that data and analytical work is quite a lot to go through. The maps that I have provided, yes, it does. You have touched upon the fact that there aren't ones that are alcohol related. That it is for crime, disorder, antisocial behaviour in the area. What I would like the panel to be aware of, which they probably won't be.
This should be a question, not a statement.
Apologies. I'll move on. You've explained regarding the fact that with all good intentions to sell alcohol responsibly. What I have concern about is the reason as to why alcohol and the sale of alcohol is so important and incumbent on the premises.
That's a really good question. There are 344 budgeons in the UK. Every one of them has a personal licence. It is part of the budgeons model. A budgeons without a premises licence is not a budgeons. It is part of the wraparound service that budgeons give to the community and for the people living upstairs and all these flats nearby. Apparently there's going to be a load more above the Pentagon, but I don't know enough about the plans for MDC, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a lovely community, looking at what you've got there already.
Thank you. I may have missed it because there was a lot of, like I say, there was a lot of information that you provided. I don't know if you've informed the panel or anyone else here about how much alcohol is being sold, or where in the store it's going to be, or what your intentions are with that.
Yes. That was actually kicked around at the last panel, but it's okay. It's going to be in a beer cave. The majority is going to be in a beer cave. You can't get into a Budgeons without going through a carousel one-way sort of turnstile. You can't get out without engaging with staff or passing staff. I'm not absolutely sure what the percentage. There was a conversation with PC Andre Smuts, very interesting, about percentage floor space. But the point that Jenny was making is it's not actually always percentage floor space, because toilet rolls are big, but not worth as much as a small bottle of brandy, for example. Okay, so perhaps Mark can help us here.
Morning. So we hold a very specific space matrix for all of our Budgeons sites. So Budgeons, if you're not aware, are the supermarket concept of food convenience. So we liken ourselves to Tesco Express, Sainsbury's Local, Morrison Daily, that kind of operation. The proportion of alcohol is on a space matrix based on the sales performance of our Budgeons estate in terms of the meal for tonight solution, if you like. So your fresh core ingredients, your alcohol, all your tin goods. It's the overall total model of a convenience food store. In terms of space, so we do have space matrix per store based on the square footage of the store, and we allocate space accordingly based on what the requirement is for that space. Spirits are going to be held behind the counter, so there'll be no spirits that anybody can access apart from going through a colleague. That'll be behind the counter. And then beer, lager, and red wine and white wine will be held in a fixture very, very close to the till point, again, where it's under the security scrutiny of the customer assistants that are in the store.
I think I could be sat here for quite a while, Chair, and go on, but I will leave it there because I'm sure it'll come out later. Thank you.
Can I ask Barbara Murray, Bartley Health, to ask the applicants some questions, if there are any?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies, my laptop gave up the ghost as I walked in, so I have no access to any references. So I'm going to ask... No, it's got nothing to do with charge. And the IT in the corner couldn't reset it, I'm afraid. So if I make a reference, please help me out. But anyway, I believe in your DA policy, which I think was submitted yesterday as part of the supplementary. Is that correct? Yes. The first line says alcohol retailers in England and Wales cannot directly control what happens after a sale. I think that's right. I'm quoting correctly. Yes. Thank you. So, yes, street drinking is very often the public face of alcohol-related ASB in an area. However, DA in this area is also a big issue and has been was part of the CIA evidence. So if you are saying in that policy that you cannot control what happens after a sale, how can you assure the committee that sale of alcohol from your premises will not add to the issues in that area?
I read you the quote from the Section 182 guidance. For the life of me, I can't quite find it here. But clearly, we cannot control. It is not our job to police people's private space. Okay? When they take the drink home, it is a matter for us. We have no right in law to police the public space. That is the job for the police. Okay? Beyond the immediate, I think it's, help me, will you? Beyond the immediate area surrounding the premises, is people are responsible in their own right.
2.27.
2.27. If we can just read that into the record, please. So the Section 182 guidance is absolutely clear. Beyond the immediate area surrounding the premises, these are matters for the personal responsibility of individuals under the law. An individual who engages in antisocial behaviour or any other bad behaviour for that matter is accountable in their own right. We cannot control what people do away. All we can do is come up with our policies that reduce the likelihood of it, which is what my initial submission was about. And we're going to share intelligence, and we're going to ban people who knock people around when their partners around when they're drunk, and we're going to avoid promotions that encourage excessive conditions. We had that other thing I read to you, para 1 point. Here we go. You cannot seek. This process cannot seek to manage the behaviour of customers once they are beyond the direct management of the licence holder and their staff. Para 1.16, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bullet 9. Barbara, I understand. I mean, this is why we've offered this. Okay, but this is the Secretary of State's. We cannot police people's area beyond the immediate vicinity. We have no right to. All we can do is try and control it, and those are our control measures that we are offering you, ma'am. Oh, you want me?
Thank you, Chair. I've got no further. I will be making comment on it later, but at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I call on, sorry, the objector. Sorry, caught your first name, but I didn't catch your first name.
Brian Fowler.
Mr. Fowler,
You
thank
call
you
me
very
Brian
much.
if you wish.
Thank you very much.
I'm a member of the public who lives locally. That's all I'll say at this stage. I'm just trying to get a picture of what Budgeons is looking like. Looking around the table, and no doubt your AI information will be telling you this, I'm probably in Chatham High Street more than anybody here. I see Budgeons, as it's developing, as like an elliptical shaped store. It sort of has got a promontory, it's got a pointy bit, and I'm trying to get a picture of where the counter is going to be, where the customer services spots are. I've seen your diagram in your submission. I just would like clarification of that. You mentioned a beer cage. Can you describe to me what a beer cage is? Is it something with a padlock? Is it a shelf? Has it got a wire mesh around it? And you also mentioned spirits being stored behind the counter. Can you give me a clearer picture of where your alcohol sales will be from?
Certainly. I'm awfully sorry. My mouth is very dry. It's a beer cave.
Would you like a water?
I'm good. And Mark is here to explain what a beer cave is. Stand by, Mark.
Thank you.
It's very kind.
Yeah, it's a secure area.
Okay.
Who else is on?
I'm not speaking, so.
Okay.
Yes.
So we call it the cellar. So within the Booker retail partner brand, you've got Premier, which is the corner shop operation. You've got Londis, which is the mid-tier kind of size operation. Then you've got Budgeons, which is the supermarket concept. So in Premier, it's called the beer cave. In Budgeons, it's called the cellar because it's more premium, it's more upmarket, if you like. The cellar, or beer cave, whatever you want to call it, is effectively a chilled room. So it's more energy efficient. It's a room that you have to go through a sliding door to access and a sliding door to exit. So that can be controlled based on who comes in and who goes out of that room. But effectively, it's a chilled environment that is held in a specific location in the store that adds to security, but it's also a feature of the store that gives it its own department, if you like. Again, it's part of our concept in terms of what the Budgeons brand is all about. We're a fresh brand. It's all about the meal for tonight solution. It's the overall shopping mission. Alcohol is a very important part of that, but it's only one part of that. But it is a very, very important part of our brand and how we deliver that meal for tonight solution, if you like. Does that answer your question? Is that?
Yes, it does. It is a separate room with sliding doors, a chilled room. Thank you. That's helpful. And the spirits will be stored behind the counter?
Yeah, and you've got access. There is no access to the kiosk, so they'll be confined by doors either side of the kiosk, so it's not There's no access to the public to go behind the counter. You'll have people manning the tills at all times, and all of the spirits are held with your vape and all your tobacco, which is held behind the counter as well.
Thank you, Chair. Relating to more specific aspects of Budgeon's statement, you mentioned that your opening hours are going to be, the licensing hours are going to be 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Can I have confirmation that's correct? My understanding is correct at the outset, please.
Vicky will confirm what's before the panel, sir.
So the application is for the sale by retail of alcohol as off sales daily between 9 a.m. to 11 p.m.
9 a.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, so your opening hours are in effect up until 11 p.m. at night. Your immediate competitors in that area, there are 3 off sales. Just along the road is B&M. Very close to is Sainsbury's in the Pentagon Centre. Also quite close along Chatham High Street is Iceland. Sorry, my question is, I'm sorry, that was the preamble, which I hoped would help you understand the question. You are selling alcohol longer than other retailers locally, so as such you are putting alcohol on sale much longer. How are you going to ensure that people aren't going to use you as their source of alcohol when they can't go to other places?
Really good point. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. Chris and I had a conversation with the Light Times R in London doesn't really matter where, but the Institute of Licensing thing. Apparently in London there's about 8 million people at work at night, night workers. And this is not just shift workers. The reason, I don't know what's your demographic here in Medway, that'll take a bit of work to figure that out. But there are all sorts of people who finish work at 10 o'clock at night and need to go and buy some food and do their supermarket shop then. Okay, that is why so many we do 350 applications a year, but so many sort of go from 7 in the morning, sometimes earlier, through to 11 o'clock at night to maximise the amount of people we are able to help in doing their shopping, that supermarket experience that Mark was talking about. Mark, have you anything to add, or have I nailed that? Your specific question was how are we going to not resell, how are we not going to sell irresponsibly between 9 and 11 for all the reasons that I enunciated and almost got on this lady's nerves about the AI, about all our systems, about all those model conditions that Medway ask, all the CCTV, all that stuff.
Whether it's relevant or not, you mentioned B&M and Sainsbury's. So Sainsbury's are confined trade now to the arcade. They can't trade beyond those perimeters of what the arcade trades. And B&M, you can argue, is not a convenience food store. It's part of their non-food business, but it's, again, they're a non-food business. It's not a food convenience store. So it's a slightly different kind of shopping mission, if you like.
Okay. Can I ask you, you mentioned internet sales and that you will keep a register of everybody that wishes to buy through the internet and has an account. How will you manage alcohol sales that might be ordered, say, via the internet?
Really good question. Internet sales came in, telephone sales came in with Tesco's about 30 odd years ago. All the major retailers use it. We use the retail of alcohol safety guidance best practice about home deliveries and internet sales. We don't deliver to public spaces, for example. We don't deliver to noisy parties, and we conduct Challenge 25 on the doorstep when any age-restricted sale is going off. And now, again, Chris and I, we met somebody from the Home Office a few years back, post-COVID, and they said, look, if you got, there was a load of us, it wasn't just a one-to-one, said, you write a lot of licenses, write a lot of licenses. Can you include home delivery and internet sales in every license going forwards? Because lockdown nearly killed us in COVID. And therefore, I don't think Chris and I have written a license since the end of lockdown that hasn't got the facility to do home deliveries in case a pandemic ever comes back.
You mention that you will not be selling beers, lagers and ciders of greater than 6.5 ABV. Why have you opted for that particular figure? Am I allowed a preamble, Madam Chair?
If it helps.
I hope if the preamble is that in previous premises licence applications that have been granted, I'll quote B&M, I'll quote some off licences very near along the Old High Street intra. The accepted ABV top limit has been 5.5%. That's the background to my question.
That's a very good question again, and Mark's already addressed you that this is not a booze cruising, booze busting, whatever they call them, off licence. This is a supermarket experience. B&M are not a supermarket experience. Each application must be taken on its own merits. Budgeons, their super strength on this site is set at 6.5. That's why we offered it. Thank you.
This is a question about management of your store. B&M, which has a premises licence, it sells companionable goods, I think is the jargon. Sainsbury's similarly. Those stores have security guards. Now, I don't think they're there specifically to cover alcohol sales, but have you intentions to employ a security guard in your shop?
Not at this time, but everything is risk assessed. We give all our staff conflict management training, and clearly we are not shy to call the police or anybody else in the event of problems. But I must say, we do not appear, across your entire portfolio, we do not appear to be having many problems requiring security guards. And they have sites all over the UK. By far, this is the least challenging site that they have. Okay, the imposition of SIA, security guards, and the massive expense that would be founded on a risk assessment. If one is required, I'm sure these people will get one. Thank you.
May I ask the applicant if they have managed many stores in public space protection order areas, please?
Like I have a challenging stores in Basildon area. It's going back about 15 years ago when I moved in. I was scared to stay outside of the shop. You know, that's first time I've been to Basildon. So we've been operating 5 stores, and I'm working with 1 store, Premier, Londays, Budgeons. So then we're serving the community, and we are working with the local authority.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. One particularly challenging site is just described was at Basildon. Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
I think we have a choice now. We can go to questions from the panel straight away, or we could take a recess if that suits you better for comfort break and stuff like that. Because we're going to break at 11 o'clock or for 11 o'clock, so a little bit before. So I'm happy to take the view of the room on whether we go now or whether we do some questions and then we go at 2 minutes to 11.
Well, should we go now, and then we can do our remembrance, and then take a comfort break then maybe, and then... I don't know how many questions you have, but I'm sure we can answer them all in 10 minutes, man.
Can I ask the panel for their questions? Who starts? Councillor Kemp, thank you.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, and I've got a couple of questions. One is an observation, not necessarily a question, but a question will come. You were saying that it's not your responsibility to police or control the activities of people once they've left your store. Unfortunately, it's our responsibility to police them. and it could be argued that any extra alcohol which has been sold by Budgeons can have an effect outside which has to be sort of picked up by the police and other things. That's just an observation. My question is, you said earlier you've got about 59 stores in the country, is that right? Is that figure right? A considerable number, shall we say, yeah. Can you tell me any where you actually work within, where you've been given a licence, where your location is within a cumulative impact assessment area?
Yes, Mark. Mark, you're going to have to answer on behalf of Budgeons here. How many stores? There's the Bullingham Park one, there's Belsize, I can think of two. Have you got any more off the top of your head?
I'm going to have to revert back and come back to the information. We've got, pardon the change in number, we've got 500 Budgeon stores.
500, sorry, Mum.
And you've got in excess of 4,000 premiers.
Yeah.
And they are north to south, so we do cover pretty much every single postcode.
I'm particularly interested in those where you're working within a cumulative impact assessment area and you've been given the licence to work there. That's what I'm interested in. Out of your 590, whatever
Yes,
it is.
there must be many, many, many. However, since 2000, I know the last couple of 3 years, many, many, many councils are abandoning their CIAs. And I'll tell you for why. People have tried to use them to bring down a roller shutter to stop new good operators like Budgeons coming in. But meanwhile, it locks in the pre-existing operators who are allegedly mis-selling alcohol to people who self-medicate on it. And it was never intended to be a roller shutter. That's why it says it's not absolute. That's why the rebuttable presumption was removed. That's why we don't have to show exceptional circumstances. So, for example, Chris used to be in charge of vast swathes of Liverpool. Liverpool have got rid of nearly all of their CIAs because it was counterproductive. Okay, Hereford got rid of theirs, my old city, the one I brought in. Okay, I do not seek to advise you one way or the other. You will have. You.
So the answer is you can't actually give me any specific towns where you are operating within
Yes,
CIAs.
yes. No, I can't, but there must be numerous because CIAs go all over the UK, sir, as does Budgeons, as does Premier, and these other outlets he's mentioned.
Well, in my research, you've only had the one, which is in Bar Street. Thank you.
Councillor Sands, have you got any questions?
Yes, I did sit on the last one, and I'm pleased to say that since the last one, you in your papers this time you've talked about domestic violence and what alcohol does that, and you've got a thing in there. I'm quite surprised that a company like Budgeon, in my opinion, have this kind of shudging, just shrug your shoulders, but once you've sold it, it doesn't matter what happens outside. And I'm sure there are lots of domestic violence victims and children who wished that someone had a better view than that. I'm not asking you to police everybody that comes into your store, but I'd like to think that you have a community feel. You're talking about community, people living in the flats above. Domestic violence is not acceptable by any standards. And I think just by saying we've sold it, it matters not what happens outside. And that's what you're saying. No, I'm afraid, sir, it is, because what you said is once we've sold it, it's not our responsibility. Well, I'm afraid it is, in my opinion.
Councillor, can I confirm what your question was?
No. Basically, my question is, why do you believe that a store like yours has no responsibility for what happens?
So, right, okay, a couple of things on that. Right. It is not my opinion. I have read you the Secretary of State's guidance. Right? I have read, I've not made that up. I've read it clear out of the Secretary of State's. if you think the Secretary of State is wrong on that, but we are where we are with that. That is not our opinion as concerns our posture towards domestic violence. Chris, for example, wrote several domestic violence and serious crime policies for other large cities in this country. Okay, that is not our position. Got between us 65 years in the police. That's never been our position. Okay, and I'm disappointed that you think that I gave you that impression. I simply read to you what the law is. Okay, our position is enunciated in this document that's in front of you about how we are going to manage down possible alcohol-related domestic violence that emanates from any sale that we may make or refuse. That's purely what it is. Thank you.
And just, and just one more question. I think we've probably got enough time. This face watch, the AI stuff you're looking at, how often is that, maybe the police can tell me, how often is that updated? I mean, will it be updated on a weekly basis? Because I'm sure the courts will hear of people that are being banned on a weekly basis. So how often is that updated?
Will it be updated as often as the disk material is updated? So as concerns the system itself, it automatically updates, as your computer does, in your, without you knowing about it. But we're just talking about rape and serious sexual offences policies, not DA.
Okay. I've got several questions, but I'm not willing to take them now at 10:51. I think if we can come back at 11:05, we can take them. People may need to have some comfort break and observe the 2-minute silence wherever they actually find themselves. Can somebody help our applicants with where the facility... welcome back to the live stream. I believe that I'm going to have some questions for the applicant team. I want to specifically talk about this store, or this proposed store. I'm looking at the plans which you've submitted, which is great. I have a couple of questions on the plan itself, and I have a couple of questions regarding your proposed offering at the store as a good neighbour. I think I'll start there. What, if anything, were you able to do to indicate that you're going to be a good neighbour in Chatham? And I'm happy for whoever is most appropriate to answer that.
I'll have a go at that. Okay, across our stores, we employ this document here, which is the Retail of Alcohol Standards Group Guidance for Retailers for England in Selling Alcohol Responsibly. Being a responsible neighbour, yeah, that's right, but what we're talking about is retailing alcohol, okay? And that is, we contribute, our budgets are a major contributor to this document. This is national best practice, and this is what the company employ across all their stores, and will do in Chatham.
Do I take it from that there hasn't been any effort to be making any sort of communication with any authorities apart from the licensing authority, and quite rightly, and I'm not prejudging anything here. I just asked if there was anything, had been with any community groups or anything like that, because I was very heartened to hear that there is consideration for the Ask Angela and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just trying to explore that on it.
Yes, the objection, the resistance to this application is primarily around the crime and the public nuisance element of it, okay? And therefore, I got in touch it was important to get in touch with the Safer Medway Partnership and take their wise counsel, and to confirm that we will be members, active members. It's not, we're not in this to be passive, turn up at a meeting, get coffee, 2 biscuits and go. We wish to completely embrace that. And in fact, we need to be able to wire in our retail AI face watch systems into disk. Mr. John Bryce has been very helpful. He has to be completely independent, obviously, because he works with the police, he works with you all. I think he's probably employed by you, actually, financed by the council. However, his mission in life is to create a safer Medway, and as part of that conversation, he's had that with us, and we've taken on board what he said, and of the package you have in front of you, and the additional measures, the additional control measures, are informed by that conversation, ma'am.
So just for the avoidance of doubt, the Safer... The Safer Medway Partnership is who you've had at this point in time. That's fine. That's all I need.
Yeah, ma'am, the shop's not even kitted out yet, but yes, at this point in time, I have liaised with Mr. John Bryce from the Safer Medway Partnership. I'm sorry he couldn't be with us today, actually. I did ask, but apparently he's on duty at a remembrance event.
No, it's fine. I was looking towards the DPS and the people who'd probably be on the ground more so than that. But that's great. Now I'd like to come on to the shop, which you quite rightly say hasn't even been kitted out yet. I'm trying to understand a couple of things. Firstly, I have a drawing in front of me, and there was a question asked about the space matrix percentage of floor space, or however you calculate this. Now, yes, we get and I did refer to the fact that we get quite a few cases in front of us, and all of the major operators come to us saying it is X percentage of the floor space. Is the reason you weren't able to give us that because you haven't kitted out this store yet?
I think a bit of inside information now. So we work on something called a customer journey. Now, if you walk into any convenience store, the layout is generically the same. You always walk into fresh food because that's what tends to be the first perishable goods that people want to buy. You circulate around the store, you end up with alcohol because it's the most security conscious item in the store. You want to protect that, you want to manage that, you want to make sure that that is being watched all of the time. And then the middle section of the shop has all of your associated goods, your tins and everything else. So based on the square footage of size, you're right, we haven't completed or confirmed the store layout plan. But generically, plans don't really change whatever convenience shop you walk into, whether it's a Tesco, a Sainsbury's or anybody else. The floor plan is pretty much similar. You walk into an M&S now, you'll see exactly the same as what you walk into a Tesco down the road. So the space matrix is quite identical in whatever store you walk into, based on store layout. The space allocated to category is based on the sales performance of what that category should do based on the square footage of the store. So if you take an example, this is a 2,500 square foot stock sales area. You allocate a certain amount of fresh for that, you allocate a certain amount of tin goods for that, you allocate a certain amount of alcohol for that. It's all based on sales performance, based on what you expect that store to do.
Yeah. Thank you for that. You have a thank you for that, Neil. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So that's great. So the reason we haven't got precise figures for here is because you haven't finalised the layout. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, we haven't finalised.
That helps me with my next question. Looking at this, I can see what appears to be some. I mean, how likely is it that this is going to be your final layout? It's on page 32 of the pack, to be helpful.
Yeah, at this time, this is probably not going to be the finalised version of what the plan will look like based on the allocation of things like the kiosk, the flow of the store. What I will say is that on that we haven't got a beer cave featured, or as I said, the cellar. There's no cellar featured on this plan. So the updated plan will have the cellar closely proximity to the kiosk, wherever that might be. So if we put, for argument's sake, if we put the kiosk along the bottom of the window, we would allocate the beer cellar far to the right of the store to make sure that it's furthest away from the front door and it's protected by the kiosk. But we'd follow the customer journey in the matrix. But again, because we're not there yet, we haven't finalised any plans for the store.
Okay, so I'm making, just checking, this isn't finalised. Have we any idea how I can make a decision based upon,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
this has some walls that are going to come down and stuff like that, so you need, have you to make drastic changes to it? Because it says something about two.
Ma'am,
Sorry.
I can help you with this. On a licensing plan, the red line is the red line around the plan is a licensable area. Any changes, this is when we make the application, this is our best, what we believe it to be. Now, clearly, customer trends change, their priorities change, what have you. If there is a change to the layout within the boundary of the red lines, then I will submit what's called a minor variation to Victoria, who will circulate it to all the responsible authorities and your goodly selves, you know, the licensing authority. If anybody's got a problem with these minor changes to the layout of the interior, then it is within your gift to reject it within 14 days. And then I then resubmit what's called a full variation, which involves newspaper adverts, again, which nobody ever reads and all that sort of stuff. And then we reconvene in this room in about 4 to 6 weeks to discuss the change between this, what we proposed here, and what the reality will be once the shop fitters have finished.
That's very helpful. Thank you for that. My question now is, if we look at the evidence in front of us and the statement that was made about the cave and the proposed that maybe, are you proposing that I make a decision upon evidence I don't have?
Ma'am, this was the initial submission. We then got a load of representations. We have amended our proposal that the alcohol will be within a beer cave, a cellar, sorry. Clearly, that proposal supersedes the initial submission of the plan. When the shop is completed, we will file a minor variation with Vicky, which will be circulated to everybody. And if anybody has an objection to the fact that there's now a beer cave in there where there was none before, despite the fact that we've offered it to manage access to alcohol with a sliding door and whatnot, then we return here for a further licensing subcommittee hearing.
Thank you. My questions now are, can I ask them to other parties now, or do I have to wait?
If that concludes the panel's questions, then it would next be for the objectors to make their case and call any witnesses that they have.
But I have more questions, but I'm not yet.
After they've made their representations, you can then ask them questions.
If we could start with Kent Police, and then we'll move along with Barbara, and then.
Thank you, Chair. If you're happy, though, I will continue, yes. I hope everyone can hear me okay, and I've got it switched on right. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't turn off. Forgive me, I'm reading from script, so I may take some time to pause at moments. But what we wish to say on behalf of Kent Police. I wish to present to you, Chair, the formal representations regarding the premises licence application submitted on behalf of Budgeons, which we're all fully aware of, where it's located on Pioneer Wharf, Chatham waterfront. This application was received on the 22nd of September and marks a second submission by the premises, which you are fully aware of. The initial application was submitted on the 10th of June and was reconsidered at the hearing on the 22nd of July, and the decision was made at that time not to grant the licence. I fully appreciate a new application has come through, and we have looked at that independently and have not taken anything prior into this. The applicant has stated that the premises will primarily be a convenience stores with the intention to sell alcohol for off-site consumption. Their supporting documentation highlights the ongoing redevelopment within Chatham waterfront and suggests that alcohol sales will serve an anticipated influx of approximately 1,000 new residents. The proposed operating schedule indicates alcohol sales between 9 and 2300 hours, but I believe that was 0800 hours this morning, so I may have got that incorrect. No, it's 9. 9 o'clock, thank you. Monday to Sunday. Kent Police are very familiar with the area in which Budgeons intends to operate. We are aware that it is within the main hub of the Chatham waterfront development, and it is surrounded by high-rise residential apartments and commercial units, as already indicated by the applicant. Adjacent to this, as you are aware, is quite a major busy hub, Chatham bus station, which is a central transport hub for the Medway towns. Opposite is Pentagon Shopping Centre, a large retail complex, attracting quite a substantial footfall on a daily basis. Within close walking distance is Chatham Town Centre, which is saturated with retail, restaurants, takeaways and licensed premises. We acknowledge that this area has undergone substantial redevelopment and regeneration. However, regeneration alone does not negate the risks associated with alcohol sales at this location. As well as being aware, Chair, you will also be mindful the site Budgeons is located is in the Chatham Cumulative Impact Assessment. It is also subject to a public space protection order, as previously known as alcohol control zones, which restricts the alcohol consumption within designated public spaces. It is also a hotspot area for us, which is a Home Office police scheme which has used data on antisocial behaviour, knife crime, serious violence to highlight the highest harm areas in Kent. In Kent, we have about 15 of these hotspot areas. As you will be aware from the information that's already probably been highlighted today, Chatham is one of the most deprived areas in Medway. It does suffer an unacceptably high levels of alcohol-related crime, disorder and public nuisance. Alcohol-related crime, antisocial behaviour, particularly in Chatham Town Centre, and we've already touched upon what I class as hidden harms, such as domestic abuse, domestic violence, and I'm sure Ms Murray will be telling you about the environmental degradation, about litter and rubbish within the area. There is also litter and drugs misuse within Chatham. The hotspot areas are the High Street, the Pentagon Shopping Centre, Best Street, New Road and the Brook. It concludes that the CIA, shall I say, concludes that granting further licensing in Chatham is likely to be inconsistent with the promotion of the licensing objectives, unless there can be something that demonstrates otherwise, and I believe the applicant has given you his information today to negate that. It is not a retrospective tool to be used. The CIA is evidence-based, designed to prevent further harm. It remains valid. It has been since April 27, and it is highly relevant to this today. The licensing authority must consider the cumulative impact on granting additional licences in areas already under stress. The CIA does demonstrate that venues and establishments that would be seen as favourable are restaurants, cafes, leisure premises, where the sale of alcohol is ancillary to the main functions. Budgeons has been described as a convenience store, but seeks a licence to sell alcohol on an off-sale basis. In reality, and to me, it would be yet another off-licence premises within the Chatham Town area. I do acknowledge that the applicant has acknowledged the cumulative impact assessment and has done his best to address those concerns associated with. I do acknowledge that on the operating schedule that you have provided, you have informed us about staff training, the restrictions on sales of high-strength alcohol, miniature spirits, and we've spoken today about cages and CCTV and staff on duty. The CCTV element with the AI function and joint up with Safe and Medway Partnership, I do question with regards to the disclosure of their information on your system, and I question whether that can be done. But I do acknowledge that you have said that you have quite a lot of CCTV within that establishment. May I take a sip? The conditions that have been spoken about today, Kent Police consider these measures to be standard. Conditions expected of all licensed premises holders across the county. They do not provide meaningful mitigation against the specific areas in which we have addressed the concerns within Chatham today. Concerns remain regarding I think we spoke about it, you spoke about it earlier, the designated premises super being from Chartworth Limited. I understand that is corporate oversight. I understand that is at a managerial level. I question if that person understands the concerns that we have regarding that area, and how knowledgeable they will be about local persons that cause concern. It is noted that also that you will not serve to street drinkers or those engaged in antisocial behaviour. Whilst I welcome that, in my view, they are not enforceable conditions. Licensing decisions must be based on robust enforceable controls, not optimism or aspiration. I do note that there is further documented supplementary information that you provided more recently regarding the conflict management and domestic abuse policies that you hold. I question whether these are largely generic and aspirational. They set out standard measures such as staff training, CCTV and Challenge 25, and I believe you said about Ask for Angela as well, which I'd hope all majority of experienced licensed premises would hold. They do not provide exceptional mitigation required by the community of impact. The policies fail to address the specific concerns within Chatham, including the street drinking, persistent antisocial behaviour and alcohol-related crime. Statements of zero tolerance or commitments to display helpline numbers are welcome, but again unenforceable. And these, in general terms, a QR code doesn't really negate the problems that there are with domestic violence. Further to this premises being located within a community of impact assessment and a PSPO, we have also identified other concerns. Crime and antisocial behaviour remain persistent and continuous issues in Chatham and have been for a very many number of years. I have spoken to the data analysts and, like it was mentioned earlier, maps have been provided where crime occurs. In addition to this, I've also spoken to local beat officers who are on the ground on a daily basis. They work the area, they know the area better than I would. And it was only right that I spoke to them and asked them their opinions. Again, all of them have concerns about the supply of alcohol within Chatham Town Centre and the influx that it may cause. Street drinkers are a problem in the area. They tend to often be linked to antisocial behaviour, littering, low-level crime, including shopliftings and fights, and can be intimidating to members of the public. This behaviour can deter people from visiting the area and poses risks to both individuals involved and the wider community. For your awareness, in the past 6 months, 24 persons have been issued with either a community protection warning or a community protection notice. Within Chatham, this is the highest across the whole of the county, the whole of Kent. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but a CPW is a written warning issued under the Antisocial Behaviour Crime Policing Act, and the purpose is to inform an individual, a business or an organisation that the behaviour is having a detrimental effect on a area. And it is affecting the quality of life of those in the locality. A CPN, a notice, is a formal legal enforceable notice that can be issued when the behaviour identified in the warning letter continues. Failing this and them not agreeing to those conditions and the enforceable notices, then obviously we go down prosecution routes. Out of those 24 individuals, 7 have failed to comply with the CPN and have been arrested, and prosecutions are currently underway. This demonstrates that issues associated with street drinking and ASB are current persistence within the relevant area that we're discussing. You will note that I provided some news articles highlighting the ongoing work within Chatham Town Centre. This report details that patrols have been increased in direct response to public concerns about safety, with officers dedicating significant time and resources to tackle persistent ASB in the area. This has resulted in numerous arrests and persistent coordinated effort between Kent Police, Medway Council and partner agencies and charities. It is important to stress that the process has been challenging, requiring substantial investment and partnership working. The introduction of another off-licence premises in the area would undermine these achievements and risk fuelling the behaviours we're trying to reduce today. It is a hotspot area. Chatham is a hotspot area. The hotspot areas that we class where officers concentrate patrols and resources in that area. It's a crime area and it has tried to reduce persistent disorder. The strategy has been deployed because alcoholic crime and antisocial behaviour are clustered in specific locations like the High Street, the Pentagon Shopping Centre and the Brook, all of which are quite close to Budgeons. Kent Police fully recognise the regeneration of Chatham waterfront and the significant investment being made in the area. However, we remain unconvinced that the sale of alcohol for this premises will contribute positively to that regeneration. Within close walking distance there are of the proposed site, there are already several establishments, licensed premises that can sell alcohol. These outlets already provide ample opportunity for residents and visitors to purchase alcohol, meaning that an additional licence at this location would add little value to the, instead risk compounding existing issues identified within the CIA. A convenience store offering everyday goods and services without the sale of alcohol is more than welcomed, which we'll be there to support the local people and the new residents, which will then avoid the risk of further problems. Due to these reasons, Kent Police feel there are no meaningful conditions that can be imposed to ensure the licensing objectives, particularly the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and prevention of public nuisance, are fully promoted. On the contrary, granting risks exacerbating the very issues identified within the CIA, the PSPO and the hotspot areas. For these reasons, Kent Police respectfully request that this application be reviewed. Thank you.
Thank you. Come to Mrs. Marina.
Well, the procedure isn't particularly helpful on this point. It just says that the objectors will make their representations, call any witnesses, and then the next step is for the applicant to ask questions of the objectors. So, Chair, it's a matter for you whether you wish to allow questions of each objector individually in turn, or for questions to be dealt with once all objectors have made their representations.
I think it would be easier for everybody if we did individual questions back to individual objectors.
Okay. Going to be quick. Yeah. This thing about face watch and privacy, I'm trying to email to you guys, great big stuff from the ICO. Have you got an email address, please, that I can get it to? Because my last one to Vicky might have failed. Because on the internet, on the Face Watch site, all the questions about shareability and ICO is covered. And I just need to get that in. So if you don't mind, if somebody can give me an email address I can send it to, please. Secondly, just ask the officer whether she's aware under para 4.69 of Section 182 guidance, the police can only object to a DPS in exceptional circumstances on the grounds of crime and disorder. Have you got any reasons to suggest that this lady here is not a fit and proper person to be the DPS?
What I would like to say is I'm not objecting, I just questioned.
Well, it amounts
There's
to
not
the
an
same.
objection.
Well, it amounts to the same thing. Have you got a problem with being? Sorry, I've got a question, a specific question. Have you got a problem with this lady being the DPS in the store, please?
No, I questioned it. That was what I was asking.
Okay.
Thank
the
you.
answer is no. Thank you. And yeah, good. I'll deal with the rest in summary.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the rest in summary. Thank you.
Can I just, for the avoidance of doubt, just say that the applicant wishes to provide information regarding that technological solution that they're offering?
Yes.
Yeah, and that you're doing that.
Yeah,
I mean,
just need an email. If you can put it on a piece of paper and slide it down, and do my best to get it to you, so you can have a look at it in recess, man.
that's great. Yeah, that's cool.
Just a note, of course, that is new information being put before the panel, so the representatives are entitled to comment on it if they wish to. It's then a matter for you whether you wish for it to be allowed at this late stage.
And he's absolutely right. It's just been raised that she doesn't think it's possible. It is, and this is, and I'd like to share it with the legal advisor and the licensing authority and the police. Thank you.
If you're happy to, I don't see any legal issue with admitting it.
is that the end of your questions for the police?
Yes, ma'am, I'm getting the impression you want to move the thing along. Yes, thank you.
I want to be thorough. If you have other questions, I really want to hear them.
I'll deal with it all in summary, ma'am, thank you.
I'll move to Mrs. Murray then.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep mine quite brief. The Director of Public Health is making representations under the Prevention of Crime and Disorder and the Prevention of Public Nuisance Licensing objectives. I'll keep crime and disorder very brief because it's already been covered by the police quite extensively. However, I would say that the evidence that I submitted or was submitted and is part of the annex to my representations supports the police in that the crime in the area, in both Chatham Central and Brompton wards and Fort Pitt wards, is current. It's not historical and it is ongoing, and it shows that both violent crime and antisocial behaviour, which are both associated with alcohol consumption, are high within Medway. I'd also like to point out, as already has been done, is that the premises is within the Chatham PSPO, or the Public Spaces Protection Order, and this was introduced due to issues with antisocial behaviour and covers the majority of the Chatham SIP area. A map has been supplied and can be found on page 37 of the agenda. As far as public nuisance goes, there is a general problem in the area with street drinking, antisocial behaviour and the associated litter that goes with that. There are discarded cans and bottles and broken glass and evidence of public urination and defecation in alleyways and public areas and within public parks. I know this because I walk around the area on a regular basis, both in response to particular or specific applications such as this, but more generally throughout the year, in order to support the evidence gathering for the CIA when it comes up for review. I have seen large amounts of alcohol litter throughout the area, and this is evidenced by the photographs attached at pages 52 to 54. And I'd like to say that these are different from the ones submitted for the last application. They are not the same photographs. Everywhere I've highlighted within this evidence is within a 5 to 10 minute walk from the premises. The CIA, it's not a large geographical area. It can be walked very easily, and people do walk to buy their alcohol from different premises. The litter and public drinking is prevalent further afield and is not just confined to the defined SIP area or CIA area. I'd also like you to note that much of the discarded cans of beer and cider is not super strength. While there are examples of strong cider, such as Frosty Jacks and Omega, the majority of the products are ones that will be sold from this shop under the proposed condition, such as Country Choice cider, Stella Artois, 1664, Foster's and Budweiser's, and all of these are under 6.5% ABV. There are also examples of bottles of wine and spirits, particularly vodka. Street drinkers do not only drink strong beer and cider. I witness street drinking almost every time I walk in this area, primarily in the High Street and in the River Park area by the bus stop and the library. And I know of recent meetings that have taken place with the local MP, which has been highlighted by the police supplementary evidence, where businesses and residents have expressed concern over the current levels of the alcohol, fuel, antisocial behaviour in the High Street, and this is an ongoing issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Some questions for Public Health?
Yes, certainly. Absolutely fantastic. Going to be quick again. You mentioned this is a high crime area. Don't deny it. Okay. This is to do with alcohol licensing and alcohol-related crime and ASB. You've wholeheartedly stood behind the police on their on their submission, which is lovely. From our examination of CLK 03 maps 2 and 3 across the entire policing areas, two of them, Fort Pitt and Chatham Central, we can find but 12 alcohol-related crimes flagged in 7 months, which equates to 1.7 alcohol-related crimes per calendar month. We can find 33. They're not great maps, in fairness. I have FOI'd this and been in a lot of correspondence with Kent Police after this information. It shows 33 alcohol-related ASB incidents across 7 months, which is 1 per week. Do you still maintain at 1.7 crimes per calendar month and 1 alcohol-related incident per week is a high crime area for the purposes of alcohol licensing? Sorry.
I think this is more a question for the police. They're not my figures.
It was a question for you because you described it as a high crime area. I'm reasonably conversant with high crime areas, as is Chris. I would not describe that as a high crime area in alcohol-related crime.
The figures you were quoting were the police figures. I quoted the figures from the council business intelligence team, which take it from police.uk. That's quite clearly explained within the annex. The supplementary figures which you claimed were from the police, so I cannot comment on those.
Yes. The trouble with the figures you've quoted is it doesn't show whether they're alcohol-related or not, and it doesn't show whether they occurred in the public or the private realm. Now, of these 12 crimes in the last 7 months, we don't know whether they happened in pubs, clubs, nightclubs, or in off-licences or in a public space. The information that we requested from the FOI is incomplete. That's my only point, and I'm done. Carrie's coming in.
Chair, may I please respond to that? First of all, the Freedom of Information Act request you didn't send through to us. If you would...
Yeah, I responded to your email last week, just stating that I can't complete a Freedom of Information request just from an email coming through to you. You need to go through our correct department, and I gave you the address for that and said that you need to go through that. As far as I'm aware, they have not contacted me to say that you've done that and requested that further information, which is why it wasn't provided.
Okay, well, I can confirm they have. Just for some clarity for you, Chair. Under the Home Office crime recording rules for recording crime, the use of an alcohol flag for crimes where alcohol is a contributory factor has been a mandatory requirement for police forces in England and Wales since 2017. And the national crime recording standards ensure there's consistent crime recording across the UK, the crime to victim reports, and that is the information we've been requesting. I have sent the thing through. They have come through to me. They were unable to answer the question to begin with until I explained to them their requirements to flag alcohol-related incidents. I'm still waiting for them to come back. I think they accept that point now. It's just that on the CLK03, in the last 7 months, I can count but 7 alcohol-related crimes in the whole across the 2 police boundary areas. That's simply the point I'm making. Clearly, from that, I would ask you to infer that, therefore, it is not a high crime area for the purposes of alcohol-related crime. That's all that I'm trying to say. Okay.
Chair, may I interject there? Thank you. I understand what you're talking about, the recording of crime. In general, that is quite a difficult one because not all of our antisocial behaviour reports that come through to us, i.e. if member of public calls up reporting nuisance use, not all of those calls are attended. How are we meant to flag it as alcohol related when we have not attended said call? Bear with me, I haven't finished. Okay. Not all calls get attended for antisocial behaviour relating to alcohol. We crime stuff, we record things as best as possible on the ones that we do attend. You have mentioned about that. I have got Excel spreadsheets and I'm sure I would confuse the panel as I do myself about providing a lot more information. I've got calls recorded of over like 6,000 reports in the last 6 months of ASB. Without having to actually go into those individually myself, I would find that very difficult. I say it is a high crime area. Thank you.
Have you finished questioning Mrs. Murray? Yeah. Ms. Raps.
Thank you very much indeed. My representation is in the appendices to this particular hearing, so I won't go over them all in detail. I would say actually that they are about addressing the licensing objectives, preventing crime and disorder and the protection of public safety. So it's just not about arrestable offences that I'm interested in. It's the fact that I see a lot of unfortunate circumstances. I see people that are drunk, I see people that are ill, and I see people that are causing concern to many other people. As the representation from the police has made clear in the supplementary information that we received yesterday, unfortunately Chatham has received an awful lot of very bad publicity over the last 2 weeks. If you believed what you read, and you should believe what you have read, you'll believe it's Gotham City, a lawless place, but there are a lot of us actually that are trying to address these issues, and we have addressed it in certain ways. Now, I am a local resident. I live in Chatham and Brompton Ward. I go into Chatham Town Centre regularly. I walk around there. I do buy alcohol in the local supermarkets. I drink in the local pubs, as no doubt your intelligence will tell you. So I am very much a regular person who goes about there. I very much want to see an improved retail offer in Chatham. I'm always talking to my local councillors about it. We're always haranguing the manager of a local supermarket about improving their retail office. We're not getting anywhere, I should say, at the moment, but that's my background. I am also a member of 2 local pacts. Now, my colleagues here will probably be aware of the term pacts from their licensing experience. PACTS stands for Partners and Communities Together. So we're very much about improving our local areas. One of the ways in which we have done that, and I will acknowledge what Nick said, was the fact that we all contributed to a cumulative impact policy. And that has had a positive effect in certain areas. But as we have seen from the evidence which the police have tendered very recently, there is an awful long way to go yet. There is an awful lot of litter around. So I am, as a member of a pact, I am a voluntary litter picker. I do other things as well, but every month I go and organise litter picks with a local pact. I'm also a solitary litter picker in the sense that I go out on my own. I go to places like Sunpier, I go to the local green spaces, and I'm often finding alcohol-related debris. My colleague from Public Health has mentioned one which is perhaps of most concern. I'm always finding 35 centilitre bottles of vodka. And again, I note that in the submission made by Budgeons that they talk about no alcohol being sold in volumes of less than 10 centilitres. I would like to commend that, you know, what I have said to you about vodka especially, and what my colleague from Public Health has said. Without repeating it, yes, street drinkers do buy ordinary strength beers, and by that I mean beers that are 5.5% or less in ABV. I do find quite a few cardboard containers which have clearly contained multiple packs of cans of beer or lager. I find a lot of those on Sunpier, which is about 300 metres away from where Budgeons is going to open its store. And it concerns me actually that people are buying alcohol in bulk and they are taking it and drinking it in public spaces. Regarding public safety, and I've mentioned my concerns about that, can I also say that I fear for the safety of your staff if you open in a shop which sells alcohol. And I'm going to quote my direct experience of talking to an area manager for another big retailer, which does have an off licence. We'd also say it sells companions goods. It's not a supermarket in the strictest definition, but it does sell food. It also sells general hardware, and you've probably gathered which big store I'm referring to, because that particular store did something which I thought was commendable. It opened another store in Gillingham High Street. And it made the step of not applying for a premises licence. The area manager told me that one of the reasons why they didn't open was because they did fear for the safety of their staff. They're trading very successfully. They've got a massive shop in Gillingham High Street, but it works. There is, as we've accepted, a lot of crime in this area. I think my observations, the personal things that I've seen, the things that I'm saying, show that there is a lot of crime here. And I appreciate that the police can't arrest every person that commits a crime in Chatham. We just haven't got the resources. But I've said actually that a lot of stakeholders are trying to address it. Something which has attracted a lot of attention in the press, it's attracted attention on the BBC, is that we are trialling something called street ambassadors in Chatham. And basically, street ambassadors, they look like security guards, they're dressed like security guards, but they are security guards plus. They're actually engaging with the local businesses, they're talking to them, they are spotting things like fly tipping, they're even negotiating with people and conducting interventions when people aren't behaving perhaps as well as they should do. But they are there for a purpose, and they're going to be there until at least December, and if further funding becomes available, they'll be there for longer than that. I ask the committee to take into account our cumulative impact policy. The cumulative impact policy is there for a reason. I know that Medway Council is the only area in Kent with a cumulative impact policy. It was a long researched and consulted activity. Consultations were done with the community groups which I belong to, so it is there for a purpose, and I ask you to take that into account. Anyway, just say, I won't go over the things that have already been said, but it is my hope that Budgeons opens a store in Chatham. Whether you have an off licence or not, whether you have a premises licence, I still hope you come to Chatham. We need you. You have said things about how Medway Development Company are supportive of new businesses in the area. Our councillors are supportive of new businesses in the area, but they also understand what the implications of having an accumulation of premises with licences are. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got, again, very quickly, Mr. Fowler. Mr. Fowler, sir, thank you very much indeed for all you do. I know all about pacts, but you've gone well and far and beyond that, your voluntary work and whatever. We are going to bring that improved retail offer to Chatham. We accept your ban of 35 centilitre bottles of vodka. Vodka, he said, wasn't it? And we would like you, this is the question, we would like you to come and see us because we would like to fund the help of your street ambassadors, and they'd be very welcome on store. Thank you.
Chair, I can share that with my community colleagues in the packs. Thank you.
It's on YouTube.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for the objectors?
Panel has no questions for the objectors. Go to summaries now.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate this has been quite long, so I'll try and keep this as short as possible. I've already highlighted to you and explained the reasons as to why Kent Police would like to you to object to this application, this premises having an alcohol licence. I just want to be mindful, and I hope you would, that it is an area that is causing us concern, and we've worked quite considerably in that area to try and reduce the problems that the CIA identifies as well as what we have identified. it is an area, it is a stress area, it is a problem, and I hope that alcohol, if you do agree to this licence, that it doesn't fuel that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the issues outlined in the evidence used to support the CIA are associated with a high density of off-licence premises. And this evidence led to the Licensing Committee and the full council agreeing to the renewal of the CIA in this area last year. I think you need to ask yourself if this applicant has shown that alcohol from this premises will not adversely affect the licensing objectives, and I don't believe they have. The applicant is not able to guarantee that a person buying beer from this shop will not go home and engage in DA, which is largely a hidden crime carried out at home and has a very strong association with alcohol consumption. The same can be said about someone buying alcohol and then drinking it in the high street, 2 minutes walk from here, and then engaging in antisocial behaviour or any other alcohol-related crime. Written in the first line of the applicant's domestic abuse policy, which is on page 25 of the supplementary agenda, alcohol retailers in England and Wales cannot directly control what happens after a sale, which I pointed out before. And I would say that this summarises the issue in a nutshell and why you decided that a CIA was necessary in the first place in this location. That is not to say the applicant is directly responsible for alcohol-related issues by bad practice or irresponsible retailing. Public Health is not saying Budgeons are not an irresponsible retailer, but due to the amount of alcohol-related issues in this and the wider area, the council has decided that shops selling alcohol in this area need to show that they will not add to the issues. And they have not done this by their own admission with that statement and are now unable to do so. A couple of other points. It's been raised by the applicant. This is part of a redevelopment, which we are all aware of. However, development considerations are not a matter for this committee. It is a planning issue in the same way that licensing issues are not planning issues. They are two separate things and are dealt with by two separate committees, as you are aware, because we've had this conversation or this dispute several times before now. We are not just talking about the immediate vicinity either. The CIA applies to an area all the way down the high street. I know the applicant raised in the statutory guidance 1.16, which refers to licensing conditions, not a CIA. I'd like to you to refresh your memory as far as the statutory guidance goes. And if you'll just excuse me for a moment. So 14.21, and this is in the section which is talking about cumulative impact of a concentration of licensed premises. I won't read the whole section out to you because I think it would be useful if you refreshed your memory during your deliberations, but it does say in 14.21 that problems of nuisance and disorder may arise outside or some distance from those premises, and that is part of the reason why a cumulative impact assessment can be made. The Director of Public Health believes there are no good reasons given by the applicant to depart from your policy, and it is reasonable to believe the sale of alcohol from this premises will contribute to the alcohol-related crime, disorder and public nuisance in this area, which are current and ongoing, and therefore the Director asks that you refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Do we have any more? Someone else?
I think I've covered it. May I just mention about the designated premises officer, as it's an issue that's been raised? Can I just say, when you do your final submission, may you comment about the designated premises officer? It was something I raised in my submission. My concern is not about your integrity at all or your efficacy. You're not going to be present at the premises the majority of the time. So I don't know if you would like to address that when you sum up. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Right. I said I'd do it all in summary. There's been a bit of a misnomer going through this hearing. I suddenly realised, it's on a flash, it sent a note across to me. People are going on about public safety up and down High Street. Public safety, the public safety licensing objective. Oh. Public safety refers to the safety of people on the premises. And I give you para 2.8, where it actually says that. It's the public safety of people using the premises. Okay, that's the first thing. I'd let that sink in. Secondly, the police and public health say this is just going to be another off-licence in Chatham. No, it's not. And we've heard comprehensively from Mr. Russell, it's far from that. And obviously, Budgeons are not just another stack it high, flog it cheap budget provider of alcohol to the unfortunate. We've heard information that FaceWatch will not support. Our plans around FaceWatch are not supported by the legislation from the Information Commissioner. I cannot say how wrong that is. There's a whole Facebook page is all about it. And we can contact the company yourself if you wish to. I've been asked to address you on the DPS. The DPS must have day-to-day control of the operations. It doesn't mean day-to-day it doesn't mean they have to be there permanently. They have to be in control of the control measures that to promote the licensing objectives, for example. This lady has been to Chatham many, many times as part of this project, and she will continue to attend this site many, many times as part of setting up this company and setting up this operation. Okay. And she is more than willing and capable of acting as a DPS in accordance with the law. If you decide that, if people have got problems with that, only the police can object, and that's on the grounds of crime and disorder, but we are where we are. Okay, we've heard, we've heard from the police that there's no need for another. No need for another. And actually, I want to argue Barbara's point, because she mentioned there's a distinction between planning and licensing. Again, for your lawyer's benefit, he already knows, but I have to read it into the record. I know it's hard work for you, because you probably know as well. Para 14.19 says, need, or no need for another in this case, concerns the commercial demand for another pub or restaurant or outlet, and is a matter for the planning authority and for the market. This is not a matter for the licensing authority in discharging its licensing functions or for its statement of licensing policy. So when the police tell you there's no need for another, with respect, that is, and I do love the police pensioner, but that is an irrelevant consideration before you today. Nobody denies there are issues. We deny, all we deny, is that due to all the control measures, we will not add to them. That's what we assert that we will not add to them. We've had that conversation about it being a high crime area, and we've had some statistical returns sent to us. I'm not saying the area's not got problems, but what I am saying is that 12 alcohol-related crimes recorded in accordance with the National Crime Recording Standards, in accordance with the plan that's been given by Carrie, that does not make it a high crime-related area, high alcohol crime-related area, nor does one alcohol-related ASB logged per month. I'm only going on what I've been given by the police, despite asking for more. Okay, I don't have to guarantee that there will be no domestic abuse as a result, potentially fueled by drink that's sold in this premises. How could I possibly, how could anybody? Nobody's got a glass crystal ball. That is fear and speculation. I've already explained why fear and speculation is excluded from this process. It's inadmissible. I've given you the stated case, in fact, and the actual paragraph within the statutory guidance. I'm not required under any CIA to show that alcohol will never get into the hands of someone intent upon alcohol-related domestic abuse or domestic violence. Okay? I have instead provided you with a policy that these people have agreed and will adopt to make sure, to their best endeavours, that it does not. Okay, right, I'm going to be quick. This hearing is simply about whether Budgeons, operating a premises licence which incorporates every aspect of Medway Council Licensing Authority's model conditions, delivering store security through membership of the Safer Medway Partnership, powering the proven FaceWatch and retail AI crime prevention systems, which exclude admission and or sales to persons held on any database, including the partnership's banned lists, and deters those intent upon accessing alcohol irresponsibly or unlawfully. I'm saying we will not undermine and will promote the licensing objectives. Very clearly, our position is that this operator does not now, at their numerous current sites, 19 of them, nor will in the future, at this site in particular, undermine the licensing objectives. We have established there is no recorded or established history or indelible evidence of problems with this applicant before you. That is an undeniable and self-evident fact. Much is made of the increased availability of alcohol. With respect, it is never the availability of alcohol in any shop or location that leads to problems. It is the available spend of the purchaser, how much money they've got in the pocket. A street drinker outside a shop stocked to the gunnels with expensive vodka cannot access that vodka unless they have the money in their pocket in the first place. So availability is not the deciding factor, it's the available spend. This is not a booze-busting discount provider of alcohol to the unfortunates we're talking about here. It is a Budgeons, which retails Budgeons stocks at Budgeons prices. Budgeons is more expensive than other mainstream supermarkets and discounters, including Aldi, Lidl, Asda, Tesco's, and even Sainsbury's. These unfortunates who self-medicate on alcohol are not going to be drawn to this store, as the alcohol is not cheap in comparison with the other alcohol-providing independent and store chains in the area where they are already accessing and sourcing their alcohol from. We acknowledge and respect the existence and importance of the Medway CIA and the problems it was devised to address. We have respectfully questioned the effect of the adoption of the CIA. That is a separate matter, and we take great comfort from your lawyer saying that rebuttable presumptions and assumptions of presumptions of rebuttals and exceptional circumstances tests are of no import in this room. The effect of the CIA is never absolute. It is not a set of roller shutters that comes crashing down on all new applications in Medway. To do so would have the effect of locking out good, responsible operators like Budgeons and this young lady beside me, who simply wish to promote the licensing objectives and contribute to this multi-million-pound regeneration, while at the same time, a CIA that did that with those roller shutters would at the same time lock in the current providers who are currently supplying the alcohol to the street drinking antisocial population. That application of the CIA just cannot be right. Okay. We've already offered to support everything that Mr. Fowler is doing, and we take on board his very valuable evidence about 35 CL bottles of vodka. That's really, really useful. They will not be stocked in our shop. Thank you for that, sir. And please do take us up on our offer of financing your street and supporting your street ambassadors. What a great idea. Now, our position is that, as a result of all the conditions and control measures we have offered, this operation is unlikely to add to cumulative impact already experienced in the area. The prospect of such problems occurring is purely speculation on behalf of the representatives, and that, with massive respect, I mean absolutely massive respect to the four of you, that is insufficient reason to reject the application. Chartworth Limited want to be part of this exciting new development. This new store represents several years of work and an eye-watering investment from them, and will bring much service, amenity and employment to this site. It'll even bring a cafe so you can have a cup of tea, whatever down by the Wharf side. You must also understand that of the 500 other Budgeons in the UK, everyone has an off licence. A budgeons without an off licence is not a budgeons. If you find yourself unable to grant a premises licence today, then I'm afraid there will be no budgeons on the Chatham Wharf side. And frankly, I would be surprised if any other major operator would contemplate taking on this site either in the absence of being able to provide a similar comprehensive convenience store offer service. Okay? So consequently, in the light of all the above reasons, I respectfully request that you do indeed grant this application in the terms sought. Thank you very much, with the additional conditions I've offered today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions today. And I'd like to say that we'd ask you to leave the room while we reach our decision. It's going to be a long one, so I would suggest that maybe we should give you a written submission.
Yeah, you've got
Yeah.
That's a long way to go. Liverpool,
Safe travelling.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.